We've seen some really strange thing happening with Google over the last year or so. Some of the new articles we publish on our sites are just not getting indexed, meaning they cannot be found from a regular Google search. It's like writing this long, sweet personal letter to a good friend. You put so much love and care into it, you take it to the mailbox, and now you have no clue if this letter will be picked up by anybody and be delivered to the receiver. So there are ways around this, and I'll show you some fixes I have found to make sure that our new articles actually get indexed in Google. But we have to start a little prior to that, because in this video we'll look at what you need to check and what you need to go over when you post new content to your site. So come over to my screen here and I'll show you something to check before you even hit publish on your new article. Let's have a look at one of my articles here on Go Downsize. So one of the first things that I like to check before I hit publish is to one final time go over each subheading and make sure that they all work perfectly with the main headline. Because the headline up here, remember, that's the only thing people see when they meet your article in Google. And you want people to click it as many times as possible whenever it turns up in the Google search results. And in order to make that happen, you need to make sure that the main headline up here, the main title, works with every single subheading. So quickly go over all these subheadings and make sure that you didn't by accident put anything in there that's not working well with the title. So you do that by just looking over this table of content here. That's an easy way to do it. I like to have a table of content plugin. This is the one that I'm using. And this will also help you check something else. It will check that you have the right structure for the subheadings, that you always have an H3 under an H2 and not the other way around. You never want to introduce an H3 unless there's an H2 above it. So you'll see that you have a good logical structure here around your subheadings. Let me quickly mess up this article here and show you what it would look like if this was no good. So see here how number 2 just totally disappeared now, and that's because it's formatted as an H1 and we only use the headline 1 format for the top headline up here. So that pushed it all the way out of the table of content. So to get it back in, we need to format it as an H2 and H3 and so on. You'll also notice here how the 4th point is now nested under point number 3. So you'll quickly see these things when you know the structure and you go over your table of content here to see that it all comes in the right order. So let me fix this again. Now we have everything in order again and everything just checks out fine here. The next thing I want to check one last time, and especially if I have this article outsourced to another writer, is to make sure that the introduction here is spot on and not too lengthy. I don't want to have any cute stories in the introduction. I just want to get straight to the point. And I want the first subheadings to really address the main questions and the main intentions behind this article here. So people are here to learn about how to buy a boat in Europe and whether that makes sense. So we address that quickly here in the introduction. And the first subheading is, does it make sense to import a boat from Europe to the US? So that's sort of the main question here. Does it even make sense? Should I just forget about this idea, or is there something to it? So it's very much on point from the get-go, and I like that. Addressing that search intent and meeting people with exactly what they look for exactly when they land on your article is so crucial, and it's by far the most important thing you can do in terms of SEO for your content. You just need to make absolutely sure that everybody who lands on your article find what they are looking for immediately. The next thing we will look at here actually fixes this indexing thing that we talked about in the beginning, and it's about internal links. You need some of your existing articles to link to this article that you just wrote. So you need to go back to some of the older articles and link to this new article you just posted. I have found this to help Google index my content much quicker. And you can either go into a little Google search and figure out where you wrote similar articles, or you can just go to some of your most visited and most popular pages and include a link to this article if you really struggle with getting Google to index this new article. Placing a few links here and there will get your index faster many times. It's not like Google cannot find your content. They can easily find it from the category pages, or on the front page maybe you list all your recent articles and stuff. But somehow Google is just not getting all the articles into the index today. Google understands WordPress very well, but somehow they just have a lot of glitches these days. So I really recommend you go in immediately and place a few internal links from older articles to this new article as soon as you publish it. You can do this with Link Whisperer. I have a video about that if you want to check that out. And you can see how I quickly got a lot more traffic to an established site just by adding internal links. I have a link to that here, and there's a link in the description, of course. You also need to submit your article in Search Console if this is a new site, and especially if you're struggling with getting it indexed. And of course you need to have that sitemap uploaded in Search Console. But I've talked about that multiple times, so let's move on now. The next thing you need to check before you hit publish is to quickly go over the article and see that the formatting is alright. We don't want any walls of text. And if you feel like it's a little hard to read and it's too easy to skim all the way to the bottom, you need to go back and work on your formatting. And I'm going to do a dedicated video just about formatting. So be sure to check that out and subscribe if you want to check out that video when it comes out. The next thing you need to check out before you hit publish are the external links in your article. I like to place them all the way to the bottom here. You'll see here I have this references section. You can also call it sources. And here I like to only link out to big authoritative sites. You should never link out to communities or forums or Quora or Reddit or other sites with user-generated content, or Facebook for that matter. Only link out to good, strong, authoritative sites to show Google that this is the type of content you should be associated with. So see here how these are very official sites, EPA.gov and some boating association or whatnot. Just make sure that you link out to something that Google sees as trustworthy articles. And the reason why I place these links all the way to the bottom of the article is to make sure that people don't click off of the article. I don't want them to bounce off the article to read somewhere else as soon as they found this information that I referenced or I quoted from somewhere else. I just place these all the way toward the bottom because very few people read all the way to the bottom. That also means that few people will leave my site. Now in this video here we don't talk a lot about how to write the best possible content, and that's by far the most important thing you need to learn when you're building a blog. So I did a video about that, a very extensive video with a lot of things and a lot of great tips on how to write the perfect article every time. How to just nail all of these things you need to get right to rank in Google. So check out this other video if you're still struggling with writing the best possible content. There's a link to it here and in the description. But now let's move on to a few quick things that you can just check off quickly. You want to make sure to shorten the URL, and let's check out this URL here. I actually didn't do a very good job with this one here, so that's a good example on how to not do it. Buying a boat in Europe answers. I will remove the word answers and in and a and just have buying boat Europe, maybe answers, but just having it a little shorter. By default, WordPress will just copy paste your title and use that as the URL, and we want to shorten that and only keep the most important words in there. From this one here it would be buying boat Europe, maybe. And then you also quickly want to check the images you put in the article. I like to just have one major image up here toward the top that I also use as a thumbnail. I like to have my pictures 800 pixels wide and then whatever height that works with that. And I know a lot of bloggers go higher than that. I don't think that's necessary. I have a lot of friends who actually go lower, all the way down to 600 pixels, because today Google is indexing everything from a mobile perspective. So it doesn't matter that much how you perform on a desktop. So who really cares if it's a little grainy there, as long as it just performs perfectly on the mobile. And that'll maybe make it load a little faster on the mobile if it's smaller, of course. So this is extremely important if you have a lot of images in your articles. I don't have that because I want to allow space for ads, because every ad is a little picture, get it inserted in there, and I just don't do a lot of images for that sake. I feel like if I cram too many pictures in my articles, if I have like 4 or 5 pictures down the article, then with all the ads it'll just be way too many pictures and visual elements in the article. Now let's talk about a few things that I don't do that most people online will tell you to do, because that's how we used to do it. A few things that in my book is very 2015 and not how we should do it today. So first of all, I don't try to sprinkle in a lot of synonyms and related words or just count the keywords and so on. I don't really care about that because the user don't care about it and Google don't care about it. As I've shown you multiple times on this channel here, you can rank for keywords and phrases that's not even on the article. So don't obsess over that. Maybe if you want to do it, check that you have the main keyword in the title and in the first paragraph or so. But don't count your keywords and don't try to use all these different words and other wordings and synonyms and stuff, because it'll just make the reader confused as to why are you calling it this all of a sudden? Why is this running shoe now a walking shoe? Or why is this type of shoe now called this over here? Just stick to whatever is most helpful to the reader, and really you just need to satisfy the user and the reader, because then Google will follow troop and see that you have great content and they're picking up all these little user signals, and then you'll rank just fine, probably better than these articles that just cram in a ton of words that doesn't really describe it in the best possible or most helpful way. And something else you've heard me talk about, and it's been a while since we talked about this, are meta descriptions. So the Yoast plugin and all the other SEO plugins will have you type in this little description to let Google know and let the reader know what this article is about. And I don't do those. And I have a dedicated video exactly about why I don't do that. And that's because when you don't feed Google these little snippets to show on the Google search result page, then Google will match those little phrases from your article that best fit with what the user typed into Google. And many times that will just work much better, because then most of the users will see a unique meta description and not the one that you force down their throat, so to speak. And even if you decide to put in that meta description and try to force Google to show the same little snippet every time up there when your article pops up in search results, most of the times today, Google will not even respect that. They will still just compose their own meta description because they know it'll work better and it's a better user experience. And the reason is that people type in very unique phrases. Google tells us that I think it's 20 or 30% of all searches on a daily basis are new searches that Google have never seen before. That also means that you cannot really predict exactly what to put up there in that little snippet there. So just let Google do its magic AI ninja tricks and find the right wording. Please like this video if it was helpful. I'll see you guys soon.